thank you so much for allowing me to interview you, because you are a frigging rock star. And that is how I think whenever I think about you and what you're doing for families. Amazing. So would you mind introducing yourself to anybody who's watching and listening? Who are you and what do you do?
Yeah, I'm an independent SEN advocate. So I support parents through with educational healthcare disputes, SEN tribunals. I advocate for SEN pupils. Parents typically come to me, we're talking about mental health today, but they're typically in distress. And I'm really there to try to support the family and the individual child to make sure they get their best educational package that is available. It's very difficult times for SEN parents at the moment, but that's what I genuinely do in a nutshell.
Fantastic. And we met because you helped me with my son during our time of trickiness, trying to connect with the school. And I saw you in action and you are incredible. If anyone wants an advocate by their side who understands the system, you're the guy. I've put so many people in contact with you. You don't even have as much time because you're so busy. But today the topic is Mental Health Week for young people. Would you tell me, how does mental health affect a child with SEN?
Typically, when a child's special educational needs aren't being met, they're in the wrong educational environment, they're not getting the right amount of therapy or sensory treatment. It's extremely distressing for them, and typically placements breaking down, they're attending maybe part-time or barely at all. It has a tremendous negative effect, and that can ultimately have a negative effect upon their attitude towards education. Sometimes some of the cases we're dealing with is young people who maybe had behavioural challenges and they've been excluded several times, and they're really disengaged from the educational system. And it's quite hard work, and actually for families and agencies try to re-engage them back into education. So it really does have a tremendous effect upon the young person and the family. So yeah, it plays a very big part of the families I serve and support. Many times parents are ringing me up, they are in distress, sometimes they cry and sometimes they don't know what to do. They're caught up in such a very complex system, and I'm here to try to guide them through it. So yes, it's a huge effect on a young person.
Wow, and that is basically your area of expertise. You are constantly there on the end of the phone for parents who are in complete distress. And I think one of your superpowers, which I'm going to call it, is the fact that you have spent many years working in the local authority. So you understand how the system works from the inside. So the fact that you've come outside and you're able to help parents.
Yes. I think that one of my advantages, as maybe I have, is that because I spent years being employed by local authorities, I had that understanding of the politics, the internal decision-making process, because I was all part of that, you see. So I understand it, and I'm able to. It kind of gives me the cutting edge in terms of negotiations and mediating, actually, in cases, and I'm able to help parents understand why the local authority has made these types of decisions, why they're treating their child this particular way, what is the thinking behind it. So oftentimes parents may ring me up very distressed, and afterwards they feel a lot calmer, and they kind of feel a bit relieved that what's happening to their child and to their situation isn't uncommon. Unfortunately, it's a national issue. I mean, I work nationally, primarily in London, but it's the same issues and the same struggles SEN parents are experiencing up and down the country.
So Sunil, thank you. What can we do? What can parents do? Have a child, SEN child, they're currently in that battle between school, local authority, at home the child might be struggling. What can a parent do to support that child's mental health? How can we take some of the power and help our children? What can we do?
I'll say that we're living in a very difficult climate, and I think everyone would agree that there is very much an SEN crisis going on. We all know about schools, the cuts in funding, and the local authorities that they're struggling with their budgets. What I say to parents, though, even in this type of environment, the SEN law protects the child. The Children and Families Act protects the child. And I have to say, well, it's a very uneven playing field. the parents that push, the parents that, you know, really advocate, whether getting someone like myself involved or solicitor or someone involved, they're the ones that ultimately secure a better package of support for their child. It is very unfortunate, because I have a saying in the talks I give, is like, if you don't push, you don't get. And it's just the sheer reality of the system parents are in at the moment. It's only, there's an element of those who shout the loudest do get a good package. There is an element of truth in that. And because local authorities and schools are so overwhelmed with so many different issues, they'll tend to give priority to families that do have an advocate, or those who are pushing for their case, or someone fighting for them, whether it's someone for the parent support group or someone pushing their case, and making their voice known, and making ultimately the young person's voice known. And I've seen cases after cases. You know, last year, towards the end of last year, we saw cases after cases. You know, parents getting what they've been pushing for. You know, it wasn't easy for them at all. Someone got what they want on the day of tribunal, where, you know, the local authority conceded. But I'm seeing this pattern nationally. The parents that do push, and they ultimately get a better package of support, and then at that point, that's when they feel they can get on with their lives. You know, the mental stress is reduced, the child's in the right setting, they're getting the right support. Families can, you know, some parents give up work to support their child, you know, if they can't get to school, and then they eventually feel they've got their lives back. But it's a very difficult period of time for some families. But it's unfortunately, that's the way it ultimately is. You know, local authorities and any authority, they don't tend to, there's a lot of bureaucracy involved. It tends to, without having parents having that kind of support, the process is extremely slow. And I can't tell you, if the amount of cases I've been involved in what have been stuck, and parents have said to me, "Son, as soon as I got involved, as soon as you got involved, as soon as I sent an email or made a phone call or attended a meeting, things just changed just like that, simply because of my presence."
Absolutely.
And I say it shouldn't be that way. But that's why I say,
that way.
Yeah, it's an uneven playing field at the moment. But that is the system we're currently dealing with, unfortunately.
And it's totally unfair. And I know myself, I wasn't being listened to. It wasn't until I got you at one meeting for 30 minutes where they finally listened and said, okay, that was it. And I know what you mean when the pressure. So we're talking about mental health week for young people. But if you have a child who's in this SEN system, you as the adult and the parent and the family and everyone as it goes out is completely consumed by it. Like, you've just reminded me how I felt. I was my whole life was revolved around getting him into a school.
And what I'll also say is the tribunal statistics show that there's been an over 20% increase in tribunal appeals, and around 89% of decisions are ruled in the parents' favour. So statistically, parents are, it's huge. The win rate for parents is actually huge. And it's unfortunate, again, and sometimes it's even frustrating for the courts, where, you know, parents have to push all this way. They have to appeal to the tribunal to get the attention of the local authority to reverse their decision. But statistically, it's absolutely huge that parents are winning a huge amount of tribunals. But it is unfortunate for those who choose that route. It can be a very expensive route for parents. Some families are, they can get legal aid to cover this process, but there's lots of families who don't qualify, and they have to get someone like myself or solicitor or someone involved to push their case. But statistically, parents have a huge chance of actually securing a better package. But again, that's the climate where we're in, and it's very frustrating for everyone, to be honest.
I totally agree. But the thing is as well, we've mentioned financially, like parents need to spend money, take time off work, but also emotionally. Emotionally, you invest so much emotion because you are literally fighting to convince somebody that your child deserves to be in an environment where they can thrive.
It's absolutely exhausting. And I think I can think of a specific case I had last year, just leading up to Christmas. And this parent, we appealed to the tribunal, and it was such a long journey for them. There was frustration, there was tears, there was non-communication, and it was up until the day of the court, literally, the local authority then says, okay, we're going to agree this independent special school. We've now agreed it. and it was just such a relief. But you know what I said to the parents, you know, some parents don't even make it that far, to be honest. But because they managed to, you know, stick it through, and they're, you know, they're very grateful for my support, and you know, they achieved such a great result, such a great outcome for this young person, and literally, you know, a young person's destination. That's why I think advocacy is so powerful, and I'm in awe every time this happens, that a young person's destination and the family's destination is changed because of, you know, our involvement of advocation. So it really makes a difference. I think my message to parents is, you know, as tough as it is, get all the support you need, but it is always worth pushing it through. Parents come to me, they've been told they've been refused an EHC assessment, the very first stage, and I can't tell you the amount of assessments, decisions we've seen reversed simply by a tribunal appeal or the parents pushing for it. Parents have to be strong in this day and age, but as I said to you, it's difficult days, but even in this difficult climate, parents still can secure a great package of support for the young person. And you know, there are organisations as well as people myself who are willing to help and support parents through this very difficult journey.
Wow. Well, do you know what I think? I think it's about confidence. I was thinking about my journey and all the parents that I work with in their journey. The ones who are confident and really do believe in themselves, not just believing in their children, because we've been brought up in a world where you don't shout out, you don't push, you're not, you know, frustrating and annoying. We all want to be seen as nice people. We don't want people to think, oh, here they come again. But when it comes to this, you've just made it very clear. You have to push, you have to fight, you have to be intolerable, because if you can't turn into that, people will just walk over you. And it's such a contradiction to everything that we promote. You know, be kind, be caring, be compassionate, take your time, wait for your turn. If you keep waiting, you'll be waiting forever if you're a parent, hoping that suddenly someone will just rescue your child and give them a good package, put them in a good environment, sort them out. So what is your takeaway? Tell me, Sunil, actually, I want two things from you. Tell us why you do what you do. What is your driving force that gets you out of bed to work with these parents?
I mean, coming from a local authority background, I saw families who had great resources. You know, they would employ barristers or, you know, the top people. And then they will just, you know, local authorities will just cave in and get such a, you know, the family will get such a great package simply because they had the resources for it. Then I saw other families who didn't have the resources, you know, settle for a very sort of low quality package. And I just knew when I was working on the other side, if this family just pushed that little harder, if they knew their legal rights, they would secure a great package of support. And I think that what drives me is that I have a philosophy that advocacy in SEN should be for all families, whether you have resources or not. And I'm trying to create a model. And I think to some extent, I'm still trying to work on it, but to some extent, to create a model where all families try to level out that playing field. And I think that's what I'm passionate about. But, you know, if you, I mean, some of the families I support are, you know, they could be, they're single mums who live in estates in very deprived area, to, you know, families that live in sort of very wealthy middle class areas of the country. So I support them all equally, and I'm trying to create a service that, you know, ultimately it supports, you know, the SEN family, whatever your socio-economical background. So main message to families, I mean, I wrote an article, and I'll probably share it with you actually later, I'll send it to you, recently for a SEN charity, and the title was Never Give Up. And the reason I say that is that, as I said earlier, the families that push ultimately do get a great package of support for their child through the EHC plan process. I also say knowledge is power. It's another cliche, but in SEN, get as much knowledge about the law and about your rights. There's some great organisations that give free advice and courses you can go on that really empower parents. It could be that for a short period of time, that parents have to be like this way, but that short, intense period of time can make a huge difference to the coming years and destination of your SEN child.
Thank you so much, Sunil. So the takeaway is knowledge is power. Learn as much as you can about your legal rights and never, ever give up. The parents who push are the ones who win.
Yes,
Thank you so much, Sunil. It's been
Yes,
a
exactly.
pleasure. Thank you for taking the time to speak to me. I know you're busy.
Yes.
You've got to go and save some families and help them. So keep doing what you do. And thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.